G'day, welcome to the Moto Project, and in this particular video we're doing a road test. It's a comparison between the Continental TKC80 and the Metzeler Karoo 3 tyres. These are dual-purpose tyres that were made for bikes like this R1200GS BMW, and it's claimed by the manufacturers they're a 60-40 type of arrangement in terms of off-road, on-road type riding. So pretty popular in the market, and the comparison that we ran was under these conditions. First of all, they were both tyres were fitted to the same bike. The bike was ridden by the same rider. We rode over the same roads, same conditions, same weather, and even the same damp and dry sections of road. So we got a real good feel of the difference between the two and which one performed better. We didn't do anything specific to these in terms of tyre pressures. We just ran them on street tyre pressures, turned off road, and then pushed these pretty hard through the beaten track. The area that we rode these was in the countryside between two little towns in North Queensland, Herberton and Mount Garnet, through an area called the Silver Valley. And there's some mine sites. I think they were tin mines or silver mines or something in the past. And it's real rough style, typical Australian safari rally type country. Lots of loose stuff, lots of large rocks, a fair bit of wet clay in there where it had just been graded and watered by the council for a bit of a transport section. So it was interesting to compare the two. So we should just cut to the chase. The TKC80 is a traditional knobby tyre, whereas the Metzeler Karoo 3 has this V-shaped tread pattern, and they're chunkier, kind of flatter, knobs on this particular tyre. And I think if you look at the tyres, you get a little bit of a less exposure to the carcass or the flat area between the knobs than you do on the TKC80. Now, I don't know if that normally is an issue for tyres, but we had two punctures on the TKC80 in the same conditions, and I never got a puncture on the Karoo 3. And that concerned me a little bit because I'm going to go off-road a fair bit. I don't want to be getting punctures. I want the tyres to be resistant to tearing and cutting, deal with rocks and abrasion and that type of thing. But that was a little bit of a worry, and like I said, I think that I just get a sense that there's a bit more exposure of the carcass or the rubber between the knobs, particularly down the centre of the TKC80. So I didn't like that thing about the tyre. Now, in terms of performance, let's look at the off-road performance. The TKC80 worked really well when we rode through the wet clay area. So it felt like it dug in a fair bit more. It gave us a bit more stability. I felt more secure riding the bike. There was less of that feeling that the bike's going to slip sideways because it was quite slippery than what I had with the Karoo 3. But aside from that, the Karoo 3 was better on this particular bike than the TKC80 everywhere else. In the loose stuff, there's some bull dust in the country that we ride in, particularly in the outback of Australia. Loose gravel, rocks the size of your fist, uphill, downhill, over bumps. This particular tyre felt like it dug in more, it got more drive, and it felt way more secure or stable under the on throttle as we're exiting corners and the back end's hanging out a little bit. So I was super happy with the off-road performance of this particular tyre in 99% of the conditions. Of the two, I would prefer the Karoo 3 for this type of bike. I get a feeling that this more knobby style tyre is probably suited to the lightweight bikes, whereas this type of tyre, it's more like a tractor type tread that you would see, if you've seen sand drags. It's more attuned to that style of design, and I think I get a sense that that is a better design for a heavy bike like an R1200GS and something with the power of these big bikes that we get today. Now, bitumen handling. The Karoo 3 outperformed the TKC80 quite significantly for a number of reasons. First of all, when you go into a corner with the TKC80, if you have a tendency to trail brake a little bit, what happens is the tyre feels like a little bit squishy as you go through the corner. It doesn't have the degree of stability that you get with the Karoo 3. And I sense that may be related to the fact that this is a knobby style tyre, and those small square knobs have a tendency to move around a little bit. So way more stability on the front end with the Karoo 3 than with the TKC80. So that was my preference at the front. At the rear, I did have an issue with the TKC80 in that we got a lot of cold tearing on the knobs. And again, these knobs are quite small in comparison to the chunkier tread pattern that we've got on the Karoo 3. We never got any signs of this on the Karoo 3. So what I assume from that is the transference of heat or the movement of heat through the carcass isn't as efficient in the TKC80, whereas this is something that Metzeler have worked on, quite significantly, particularly with their super sport style tyres like the Race Techs and the M7RRs. They're very conscious of the movement of heat through the carcass to get an even heat across the tyre, so that when you turn into a corner, the operating temperature is pretty good on the edge. So definitely not as good on the bitumen. Now, from a noise perspective, I get less noise out of the TKC80 than the Karoo 3s. They're a little bit noisier, but which tyre would I buy, moving forward from here? Well, my next set of tyres, again, will be a set of Karoo 3s. Super happy, very impressed with the quality of these tyres, and, more than happy to recommend these to anyone who's doing a safari or a rally or travelling around Australia or something like that. So I'll leave you with a little bit of video.